So yeah, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for hosting this conference. It's exciting to join you all for another virtual conference, and I look forward to doing these things in real life soon. I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see if this is working. Okay, looks like it's working. So yeah, so I'm here to talk about our project Orchid, and in general, a lot of the issues that we've been learning about and pursuing over the last couple of years around privacy. So I've been kind of pretty long in the tooth on this whole internet thing. I've had an email address since 1989 and was involved in early web development in the 90s, built internet companies during the dot-com phase. Also worked with Bill Joy and a bunch of the team at Sun, building peer-to-peer technologies in the mid-2000s. And as the presenter mentioned earlier, I was part of early efforts, especially Fortress and Pantera, in building the kind of early blockchain ecosystem from the investment angle. The very earliest experiences of the internet and my earliest experiences were really one a sense that the internet was very much a place of sort of exploration and discovery. It was radically open and really very much a place for freedom of expression. And that really changed over the years, whether it was just the initial architectures, which are heavily client-server focused, the emergence of cookies and cross-site cookies, which led to a lot of data sharing across the internet of what you're doing and where you're going and all the data gathering practices that evolved then. Or whether it was really just the emergence of Facebook and social media or adding in GPS locations into your cell phones. There's so many aspects that have really made using the internet now quite an uncertain thing and really what feels like kind of like a risk. In addition, in contemporary times, the experiences over the last 6 months of COVID-19 and the social distancing that's had to take place has meant that so many more people are now working from home and living even more of their lives online. And now what we're realizing is that many of the vulnerabilities that are inherent in our online life are becoming much more apparent. And really the concern we should have here is that the steps that are being put in place, for example, things like contact tracing, where we can track and monitor people as to whether they've had a positive test and who they're exposing with their movements through the world. These are in general, obviously, good things in terms of we do want to try and reduce the amount of people who get infected. Some of these tools, however, may open the door to further abuse of data in the near term and in the future. Our awareness of privacy and the issues of it has definitely grown over the last 3 years. When we started Orchid 3 years ago, a number of people just really questioned the premise to say, are people really that concerned about privacy? Someone I worked with many years ago, Scott McNeely from Sun Microsystems, had a famous quote as, your privacy is dead, just get over it. And however, I feel like, and certainly this is reflected in the media and in people's understanding in our studies, is that the awareness of privacy and the concerns over it are now becoming forefront in people's minds. To get a sense of really what's at stake here and what's happening, there is a program of global internet surveillance by many countries around the world and also companies around the world. These vary in really how they're done and what's happening. There's a pretty consistent across the board surveillance by social media companies and ad tech companies in order to really build what we are now calling surveillance capitalism, the idea that you're the product, your data is the product, and you're offered then something for free. But in addition, many states, countries around the world, especially authoritarian regimes such as China, with a collection of technologies that's collectively called the Great Firewall, have significant state surveillance and censorship I think it's around only about 50% of what we consider the rest of the entire internet is currently accessible from inside China. And as I mentioned earlier, this crisis and crises in general tend to accelerate trends like this. They require large-scale coordinated responses that can really only be done by central governments. And often this leads to a permanent expansion of government's power over citizens at the expense of civil liberties. Repressive regimes have often turned to national emergencies to claim broader powers over their people. As an example, Egypt has been in a declared state of emergency for most of the past 50 years. And during that time, opposition parties have been banned, elections canceled, media censored, and people jailed indefinitely without charge. And this playbook has been followed by many countries around the world. Use of national emergency is not also exclusive to authoritarian or dictatorship regimes. As an example, in the United States, after 9/11, the US Congress passed the Patriot Act, which is still in play and has recently been renewed. And this allowed for many things: indefinite detention, expanded federal abilities to wiretap people. And it's a good example of how you have a crisis, what seem like reasonable approaches are put in place to increase surveillance and censorship, and then later these things just stay in place. And I think there's every reason to expect that this kind of safety in exchange for freedom bargain is going to expand. There were many initial praises for China and other countries, South Korea, fairly authoritarian, whether it was specifically authoritarian, whether it was a population that was trusting of the government and just basically did what they said, which you can argue has not been the case in the sort of cargo cult approach that's been done in the United States. But putting aside the sort of effectiveness of these responses, there is this general question: are these risks now, for initially terrorism and now pandemics, pushing us past some kind of tipping point in which we just really can't regain our privacy? One of the things I've been concerned about for many years is just what happens if an authoritarian regime, which is, well, a non-authoritarian democratic regime, ends up in a sort of martial law situation, and then decides that all messaging apps need to have surveillance on them. How would anybody in the future be able to actually organize to even just peacefully demonstrate against that? I think the irony here is really that the risks of these privacy are really possible because of the technological strides we've made over the past 30 years. And just kind of like a tagline, really, the tech that's made our lives easier, faster, and better has also made censorship easier, faster, and better, and surveillance easier, faster, and better. As you mentioned earlier, this has really become a growing trend, and there's definitely significant awareness of this. Really now we've got to this point where even though things are free, we're realizing that these business models that are based on exploiting user data don't, kind of like, do we have to work this way? Is this really the way that the world has to work? Because this concept of free has become a very costly concept. So just switching back to things that we understand in this community, the initial architectures of the web, not necessarily the internet was really very decentralized from the beginning, but of the web business models that were built, these things that have led to what we're calling surveillance capitalism now, we have some choices now. There are these now decentralized approaches based on blockchain technology, initially from Bitcoin and then Ethereum, and then extensions of other people's different smart contract frameworks that now give us some choices. Can we build architectures? Can we build business models that do not require us to have this middleman really building what is kind of sometimes called a digital panopticon? Can we return agency back to people, to individuals? And we're seeing definitely the emergence of many of these things. Our company is very much focused on this, very much focused on the intersection of cryptocurrency, blockchain, and privacy. The area that we've been focused on initially has been virtual private networks. And this is an established technology. It is something that is used extensively globally for many different reasons. One of the most benign and fun reasons people use VPNs for today is in high schools. Many times there are firewalls. So if you're using the Wi-Fi within a school, a high school. You want to use that Wi-Fi because perhaps the cell networks are saturated with all the cell phones that are there. But those Wi-Fi routers have firewalls built in that ban things like Snapchat, Instagram, etc. So students are using VPNs to, we can argue whether it's a good thing or bad thing, but to actually access the content they want, to jump the censorship of the high school. And on a global level, this is done. In China, there's often kind of an arms race as to which VPN can I use in order to actually access content that's available to most people readily, but is not available to people in China. However, there are some challenges to VPNs. In order to use a VPN, what you're doing is basically tunneling your traffic through a central server. So now you have to trust the VPN. Previously, you were trusting your ISP, you were trusting your mobile connection provider, but now you're trusting the VPN. And there are a number of cases of VPNs being subpoenaed, VPNs claiming that they don't log data, whereas in fact they do, VPNs using outdated technology and stuff that's not open source. And whilst there are other approaches out there, for example, Tor is a mechanism to do routing across many nodes, and we'll talk about the analogies of Orchid there in a minute. These approaches are volunteer-based and not incentivized. And within the blockchain community, we believe, as one of our core principles often, is that incentivization leads to stronger networks and more secure systems. So 3 years ago, we started a company called Orcid Labs. We launched the network in December of last year, and I'm going to tell you a bit about what we've been up to. So Orchid is an open source privacy solution. It's built on Ethereum blockchain, and incorporates many of the ideas of existing privacy solutions, VPNs, and really builds a marketplace. So the kind of simplest way to think about this is that we're enabling you with a client. Clients are available on Google Android and also iOS test flight, and quite soon to be iOS main app store, and also desktops and so on. And those clients are then paying node providers, and the node providers are kind of think of them as VPN companies. And in fact, we actually partnered with a number of leading VPNs from the beginning. So currently, our network is run by these companies and others. We don't run our own network. But in addition, anyone else can run a node and be part of the Orchid network. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is that in our system, instead of you signing up and giving your credit card and your personal information to a VPN company and trusting a single VPN company, you're actually paying with a Ethereum token, the Orchid token OXT. You're actually paying on a pay-as-you-go basis, whereas standard VPN structures tend to be on a subscription basis. We pay it on a pay-as-you-go basis. And so you're only paying for the bandwidth you use. In addition, in not only able to route your traffic using cryptocurrency and through different providers with that additional privacy I just mentioned, we're also able to string together multiple different providers. And some VPNs do have multiple hops, but you're still trusting that single VPN company. What we do instead is allow you to string your traffic between different nodes, what we call these multiple hops, hopping between different nodes until you get to the internet. And what the effect of this is that your internet protocol, your IP address, is then anonymized. So there's no one in the chain, if you like, that can know who you are and where you're going. There are many other things that we've done within our system. We've integrated OpenVPN, where we've recently in our code base integrated WireGuard. We've got our own very interesting wireline protocol that we've developed, which is going to allow programmability in the future, and really building out this concept of not just a decentralized VPN services, but generally decentralized services, which we believe is one of the big new focuses that is going to be enabled using blockchain technology. One question we often get is, how do we scale this thing? There was, since the early days of Ethereum, and especially with CryptoKitties and then the ICO boom, there's this question of how do you scale Ethereum? And there's a number of companies that have been focused on layer 1 technologies. We developed our own. Our approach is called probabilistic nanopayments. It's a kind of micropayment, if you like. And what's happening is, and this graphic here is demonstrating a series of tickets of which one is a winner. So when node providers are being paid, they're actually being paid using these tickets or nanopayments, only one of which is going to be a winner and claims the entire stake that's associated with the block of payments there. So on an expected value, the amount of payment is the same, but it means that within large majority of the payments happening off-chain, we can scale this to data networking speeds, which I think is unprecedented in blockchain space. We're available now on many leading crypto exchanges. One of the most recent launches was Kraken. We started off with Coinbase, our initial partner. We've expanded out to Asia with OKX, Bittrex, working on expansion into regions such as Korea, and really not just doing launches of these things, but also translating to languages and making the focus of these exchange launches and partnerships not just increase trading, but also increase availability of Orchid in different languages and different currencies. We are easy to reach. Our website is just simply orchid.com, and these are our other links to our Twitter and so on. And we will be hanging out for a little while doing an AMA, and thank you for your attention today.
Thank you very much for the chat. It's very, very relevant in this time, the very first part of your conversation, then looking at Orchid, which is also very interesting. I have a considerable amount of questions, so we can go into some questions right now. So I have one. Pay as you go for the VPN service of Orchid. How does that exactly work? Do people manually have to pay for that, or is it something that you've integrated some kind of technology to have those funds just uploaded as you're going along?
Yeah. So what you do is, technically speaking, you link an Ethereum wallet and an OXT wallet. You need a little bit of Ethereum to pay the gas currently using current Ethereum technology. In the future, we're looking at ways to just use the OXT token for the gas, but you connect that to your app, and then it draws payments from that. Clearly, with any pay-as-you-go model, you could build different business models upon that. One of the real approaches we have with Orchid is we're not trying to just be a VPN company or VPN aggregator. All of our technology is designed such that you can build your own VPN company. And anyone could run nodes, anyone could use our client technology and so on. So subscription models could be built on this, or other kinds of approaches that would be similar to existing VPN companies.
That's really interesting. So as I understand, this is kind of like you have partnerships with VPN companies and creators, and you've kind of proxied them and kind of put them together and offered this availability of a cryptocurrency payment to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, one way to think about why a VPN company would partner with us is that, and we're also looking for other partners, obviously, and people who want to just build their own VPN company, is that in many cases, with the fixed investment of infrastructure, the VPN company, they often have, if you like, kind of like excess or spare capacity many times. So our approach to effectively increase the funnel for that and provide a market for that excess capacity. You could kind of abstract this a bit and say that those partnerships are a little strange because we are also effectively in the future potentially disintermediating that entire market. But we think there's a blended approach here, and we're also talking to VPN companies about integrating our client technology such that they can be part of the kind of meta aggregated network.
All right, awesome. What was the token symbol of Orchid?
It is OXT.
OXT. Okay, fantastic. Because I saw it on Kraken the other day. I don't know if it was recently listed there, but I hadn't seen it before. So
I have time dilation issues now with COVID and everything else in crypto. So I think it was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
But it might be here, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it a few days ago, so I wasn't familiar with the project at this point, so it's really nice to figure this out. So when it comes to the utility of the token, obviously this is a very, at the foundation of it is a simple model. If you want to pay for a VPN service, you buy our token, and then you pay in that token. Is there any other utility of the token?
So the token's used to stake in the system, and the staking effectively advertises the capability of nodes in the network. So if you have like a lot of capacity in your VPN infrastructure, you would stake a lot of OXT in order to balance that against the economic opportunity, and vice versa.
Fabulous. I also have a cryptocurrency project. I'm our own biggest shill. And so I'm going to ask a question about, you said something about accessibility, about translating all of your materials in certain things. What we do is we do data annotations via blockchain. So we have thousands of workers all over the globe that do structuring and labeling of data, but we are very focused on natural language processing, including doing translations. I'm not wondering who you're working with your translations, but I just want to throw it out there that we do translations. We do it at 50% of the cost that you're getting it at right now. I guarantee it. We can do it faster, and I'd love to talk to you after the show. There's many cool things that are going on with blockchain technology, with VPN services, and there's so many different models. There's all of these Bitcoin maximalists and all of this stuff, and I get it, because Bitcoin, it's the king. It'll always be the king, but there's so many innovative, incredible things that are going on in the space that a lot of people don't even know about. So Orchid is definitely one of those things. I'm sure you've been working incredibly hard with your team on making that happen. New to me because of Kraken. Kraken, very good at advertising. Once something pops up there, then people find that out. But I would like to thank you very much for being with us. You're one of our last guests. We saved the best for last. So thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Rock and roll. Take care.